When you're reading a text in my class, it's imperative that you also take notes on that text. One way to do that is with the response notes that you see on the screen. The response notes are a very quick and easy way to jot down all of the important information from a given set of text. As you can see, it's got 5 sections. The first section right there says write down 5 concrete details about the plot of these pages. We will get into those concrete details in just a moment. The second section asks you to select one significant quote from the text and explain why it's significant. Our third section asks you to jot down any kind of questions that you have over the course of the novel and supply answers when you get them. The fifth section is what any good reader does when they're reading. They try to predict what's going to happen next, and that's where you would predict what you think is going to happen next in the following chapters. And the last section, perhaps the most important way to connect to the text, is to find connections between what's going on in the book and what's going on in your real-world existence right now. So for this activity, what I have done is I've read the first couple of pages of the book Anthem by Ayn Rand. And I've done some brief response notes on them. Now to start with, it's imperative that you do this while you are reading. You do not do this after reading the first chapter. You do it while the reading is going on. So as you can see on the first 3 lines there, I've included 3 concrete details for Anthem. The first one, the main character is named Equality 7-2521. That is directly from the text, and that is located on page 18 of the text, which is one of the first 2 pages of the story. I don't take the lines verbatim from the text. What I do is I try to take the most important points and put them in my own words. The second concrete detail there, the society forces all individuals to act as one. It's a collectivist society, with the page number being 19. Again, I took parts of the text and put them into my own words so I would be able to come back to them and know exactly what it is I was writing about. The third one, you'll notice that I have 2 terms that are in quotation marks. The reason I did that is because those terms are taken directly from the text. Hopefully at some point I'll be able to figure out exactly what they mean, but right now I thought it was important, so I placed it on my response notes. There was a great rebirth that occurred after the unmentionable times, and this occurred on page 19. Again, if I can come back to it later and find out what those mean, I would write it down. Then at the bottom, I took one of the most important lines in the text, the first line, and I wrote it down along with the page number. It is a sin to write this on page 17. And then at the bottom, what I do is I explain why I perceive that to be a very important part of the text, and I put it in my own words. This tells me that wherever this text takes place, they have very strict rules. Additionally, as it is a sin, there must be some type of religion involved. So I took apart the text, found out why it was important to me, but I also focused in on a key word, that key word being sin in this one. The third section, as was previously mentioned, is the questions. What the questions section is any time you run into anything within the text you're not quite sure you understand, you write it down here, and it gives you 3 spaces in which to do it. Now, if you eventually find the answers later on in the text, you come back to it and answer it. But as of right now, I had some problems in reading the first couple of pages. First of all, why does Equality keep using the pronoun we to describe himself? This starts occurring on page 18, but goes through the entire first chapter. If I find out that answer later on, I might write it right down there, but as for right now, this is a solid question. Now underneath that, you'll notice that I have predictions. This is where I write down what I think is going to happen from here on out. I predict that the rulers or the heads of the society will find Equality using the candle that he stole from the home of the street sweepers, and then they will punish him. Again, it's a prediction that I am making based on what I read within the text. Whatever you think is going to happen next is what you would write down there. Now be sure to answer this in a complete sentence, because if you just put down a couple of words, it's not necessarily going to give you the most information. The final section is section E. What connections did you make to the real world? And again, The idea here is that you are going to write a complete sentence about how the text is connected to stuff that occurs within your life. For example, I sometimes feel as though my independent thoughts are not encouraged. In the text, the main character, Equality, has issues with what he perceives to be his own independent thoughts not being welcomed by the collectivist society. I too sometimes feel like what I have to give isn't encouraged by some members of my society, so that's something I have in common. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Those are our response notes. I encourage you to use these for every text that you read because they will provide a great deal of help. Again, if you have any questions about this, go ahead and email me at mrhurst@hotmail.com.